The sound of rolling luggage echoed through the grand halls of Los Angeles International Airport. Among a sea of sharply dressed business travelers and luxury-laden influencers walked Sana Malik, 33, wearing a simple beige hoodie and loose trousers. Her face was fresh, makeup-free, and her worn sneakers told a story of comfort over glamour. No one paid her much attention, and that's exactly how she liked it. What no one realized was that Sana wasn't just any passenger. She was the wife of Rayyan Malik, the elusive billionaire tech mogul who had quietly acquired Skynova Airlines just 6 months earlier. But to everyone at Gate B19, she looked like just another economy-class traveler until she handed over her first-class boarding pass. Sana was flying alone today, a quick trip from LAX to New York to visit her ailing aunt. Rayyan had offered the jet, of course, but she declined. "I need to breathe among real people," she'd told him with a warm laugh that still echoed in his ears. That's what he loved about her. She never let wealth change her roots. As she approached the boarding lane, the first-class queue was short. A sharply dressed gate agent named Claudia smiled automatically until her eyes dropped to Sana's clothes. That smile flickered for a microsecond, then returned with a slight chill. "Ma'am, economy class is boarding after first class," Claudia said gently but firmly. Sana gave a kind smile. "I'm in 2A. Claudia blinked, then looked again at the boarding pass. Her brows lifted. "Oh, 1 moment, please." She waved over a supervisor with a stiff bob and heels that clicked like judgment itself. "Problem?" Sana asked, her voice still calm. No, the supervisor replied, while scanning her pass again. Her eyes scanned Sana from head to toe. "Just routine. We like to double-check first class for accuracy." Sana knew what they meant. She wasn't wearing designer. She wasn't holding a Louis Vuitton tote or pulling a Rimowa suitcase. She didn't look like someone who belonged in 2A. But she'd dealt with worse. Once on board, the tension didn't fade. It escalated. The first-class cabin glittered with polished wood finishes and leather seating. A steward named Peter, tall and immaculately groomed, greeted her with a look of pleasant surprise and subtle suspicion. "Boarding pass, ma'am?" he asked, though she'd already passed the scanner. She showed it again. He stared at it a beat longer than necessary. "Right this way," he said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. As she settled into her seat, she overheard whispers. Did she win a contest or something? Maybe a last-minute upgrade. Definitely not a regular first-class flyer. Sana ignored them, though the words stung more than she let on. Then, just as she took a sip of water and opened her book, Peter returned, this time with the head stewardess, Marla, in tow. Her arms were crossed. Her smile was tight. "Ma'am, I'm afraid there's been a mix-up," she said. "This seat is assigned to another passenger. We'll need to move you to economy." "But my pass says—" "It's likely an error in the system. Happens sometimes," Marla interrupted. "Please collect your things." Sana looked around. Other passengers were watching, some with curiosity, others with smug satisfaction. No one said a word in her defense. She stood, quietly, holding back emotion. "Of course," she said. "But I'd like your names, and employee IDs, if you don't mind." Peter smirked. "Why? Gonna write a blog post about it?" Sana simply smiled. "No," she said. "Just need it for a meeting my husband's having tomorrow." They laughed, not realizing the storm they'd just triggered. The economy cabin buzzed with chatter, the low hum of restless passengers filling the air. Sana Malik was now seated in a cramped middle seat between a sleeping teenager and an older man watching a movie at full volume. The shift from serene luxury to sardine can discomfort was jarring, but Sana wasn't upset for herself. She was thinking about the bigger picture. The quiet discrimination. The judgment. The way people believed worth could be measured in labels and luggage. She hadn't needed validation from anyone. But what Marla, Peter, and the staff at Skynova Airlines had done wasn't just rude. It was systemic. And she had seen it before. As the plane cruised above the clouds, Sana took out her phone and opened a folder of notes. She started typing. Flight number, names, time of incident, behavior, tone, reactions of nearby passengers. She wasn't just logging a complaint. She was preparing a case study. Because tomorrow these same flight attendants would find themselves in a boardroom they never imagined stepping foot in. Meanwhile, back in Manhattan, the Skynova Airlines corporate headquarters was buzzing with anticipation. Rayan Malik was scheduled to appear at the quarterly leadership review in person, something he rarely did. The billionaire founder of OrbitLink Technologies, Rayan had recently acquired Skynova to reshape the future of luxury air travel, but he wasn't attending the meeting to check quarterly numbers. He was attending because Sana had sent him a single text during the flight. "Don't be angry, just be ready. I need you in that boardroom tomorrow, and please, let me wear the same clothes." Rayan had smiled reading it. He'd known something had happened. Sana never played the victim, but she always stood for justice. The next morning, the boardroom was polished to perfection. Senior executives, department heads, PR directors, and the entire first-class cabin crew from yesterday's flight had been summoned, though they weren't told why. Marla, Peter, and Claudia assumed they were being recognized. After all, their customer service scores were always top tier. Claudia even wore a fresh red lipstick, whispering to Marla, "Maybe we're being assigned to the new elite route to Dubai." Marla smirked. "Told you, professionalism pays off." At 10 o'clock sharp, Rayan entered the room. Every head turned. The man was an icon, sharp suit, unreadable eyes, and a presence that made even the most seasoned executives sit straighter. "Good morning," he said, his voice even. "Before we begin, I'd like to introduce someone very important to this company, someone who had a revealing experience on one of our flights yesterday." The door opened again, and in walked Sana, wearing the same beige hoodie, the same worn sneakers, and the same soft expression. She looked around the boardroom, making eye contact with each stunned face. Marla's mouth fell open. Peter's color drained. Claudia blinked like she was seeing a ghost. "Sana Malik," Rayan said with calm pride. "My wife, and the woman your team escorted out of her rightful first-class seat yesterday, after judging her by her appearance." The silence was suffocating. Sana stepped forward, placing a printed report on the table. "I didn't come here for apologies," she began. "I came here for change, because what happened to me has happened to others too." She looked directly at Marla. "A mother flying alone with her toddler, downgraded because you assumed she couldn't afford business class, a veteran in cargo pants, questioned at boarding, an elderly woman in a shawl, denied access to the lounge." Peter tried to interject. "We didn't know who you were." Sana nodded. "And you shouldn't have to. That's the point." Rayan's voice broke the tension. "Skynova will no longer be a place where judgment comes before service." The atmosphere shifted. Executives glanced at each other. The reality was setting in. This wasn't a lecture. It was a reform in motion. The weight in the boardroom was heavy, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Marla, Peter, and Claudia sat frozen, no longer the proud, polished professionals they'd been just minutes ago. The realization had sunk in deep. The woman they'd kicked out of first class wasn't just a passenger. She was the owner's wife. And she had come back, not to humiliate, but to change the system that had empowered their choices. Sana looked around the table, her voice unwavering. "I didn't want special treatment. I never have. But if this is how you treat someone who doesn't fit your image of wealth, imagine what happens to those who don't have the privilege to speak up." The room stayed silent, until Rayan Malik stood. "Let me be clear," he said, his tone calm but authoritative. "We're not here to fire people. That's not how we fix a broken culture. What we're here to do is rewrite our entire service policy, from the gate to the galley." He clicked a remote, and a presentation appeared on the screen behind him. Project Dignity, Skynova's commitment to human-centered service. The heads of HR, PR, and customer experience stared in shock. This wasn't a reaction. It was a strategic overhaul, already planned with precision. Starting immediately, Rayan continued, every employee who interacts with passengers will undergo intensive training on unconscious bias, respectful communication, and inclusion. We're creating a culture that serves people, not their appearances. He turned to the crew. Marla, Peter, Claudia, you will not be terminated, but you will be temporarily reassigned to our customer advocacy team, where you'll spend the next 60 days reviewing real passenger complaints, listening to stories, and learning what respect looks like from the other side. Marla looked down, eyes glassy. Peter shifted uncomfortably. Claudia nodded quietly. Sana stepped forward. We're also launching a Voice of the Passenger program. Anonymous, honest feedback directly from customers. No filters, no fluff. We want to know how people truly feel about how they're treated, and we want to fix what's broken. A senior board member raised his hand gently. Mrs. Malik, I've been in this industry for 30 years. I've seen change come and go, but this feels different. Sana nodded. Because this time it's personal, and because we're not waiting for a scandal to go viral before we act. 3 months later, Flight 874 from LA to New York boarded smoothly. In the first-class cabin, a woman in a beige hoodie stepped into 2A. Yes, Sana Malik still wore the same outfit, but this time, no one questioned her seat. The steward who greeted her offered a respectful smile. Welcome aboard, Mrs. Malik. Would you like water or juice while we finish boarding? Water, please, she replied kindly, opening her book. From a few rows behind, Peter, now reassigned back to first class after completing his training, walked past and caught her eye. He gave a small nod, not out of fear, but with genuine respect. Meanwhile, in the economy cabin, Marla was gently helping a young father stow a stroller, speaking with empathy and patience. Her tone was different. Her presence was different. She had learned. And it showed. The ripple effect of Sana's experience had transformed Sky Nova's reputation. Customer satisfaction was at its highest in company history. Other airlines were watching, learning, even reaching out to replicate the model. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reflection and responsibility. Respect shouldn't come from wealth. It should come from humanity. And Sana Malik? She didn't need pearls, heels, or a designer bag to prove she belonged. She had something more powerful, integrity, and the courage to demand better. Have you ever been judged by how you looked, or treated someone differently based on assumptions? Let us know in the comments below. And if you believe everyone deserves respect, no matter what they wear, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful real-life stories.